As a social worker, I didn't. I mean, that's
Mm,
just to be honest, I did not. I
yeah.
did not protect. I did it by drinking every night.
Mm,
I think the number one thing was feeling guilty about resting.
mm,
That was one of the things that I actually
mhm.
noticed within myself is emotional numbness.
Burnout. The call is coming from inside the house. We always think it's
Oh,
all the
that's so
external
good.
factors,
Oh.
right? Hello, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Power Lounge. This is your place to hear conversations from those who have power to share. My name is Amy Vaughn, and I am the owner and Chief Empowerment Officer of Together Digital, a diverse and collaborative community of women who work in digital and choose to share their knowledge, power, and connections. You can join the movement at togetherindigital.com. And today we are joined by Marian Mills, an award-winning voice artist, Gold Telly Award winner, and founder of Depression Proof Your Life with a background in social work and lived experience as a disabled Army veteran. Marian brings rare authenticity and emotional depth to everything that she does, both in her voiceover artistry and in her mission to help professionals build resilience before burnout takes hold. Her work focuses on practical strategies for mental health advocacy, burnout prevention, and creating what she calls a depression proof life. We are thrilled to have her here with us today to share her insights on how to protect your energy, recognize the signs of burnout, and ask for the support when you need it most. Welcome. We're so excited to have you today.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it.
Ah,
Always honored to be able to talk about such a subject that's passionate, that I'm definitely passionate about. So thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we're more than thrilled to have you here and honored as well. You know, these are the things that we talk about a lot, even though we are professional women who work in mostly digital and marketing fields. This is all very rampant and prevalent, and it bleeds into the work that we do. But one of the things we like to do at Together Digital is to also understand those who are coming with their wisdom to us. And so we would love to hear more about your journey from social work to voice artistry and then to finding like depression proof your life, which is all kind of feels like a very unique journey. What
Yes.
movement in your own life made you realize that you needed to create some sort of framework or method like this to share then with others?
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you for the, again, like I said, for the opportunity. But in all honesty, it came from, of course, my own personal experience. And simply put, what made me move forward with creating Depression Proof Your Life was actually just seeing and hearing so many mental health cases, so many
Mm,
cases of burnout. When just in being in different rooms, when you hear about people losing um, the passion for something that they once had, or even organizations losing good
mhm.
people because of
Yeah.
burnout. And because of what happened to me, in my journey in social work was all I ever wanted to do. That's what I
Mm,
went to school for. I loved where I was, what I was doing, but I was burnt out. And
yeah.
what I understood was, I want to share the journey as far as social work into voiceover. I had no life. I literally had no
Mm,
life outside of social work.
mhm.
Day and night, I was doing social work. Of course, I was on call, so I had to work on call. Then, because I had no life, I realized because I had my struggles in the past, I knew the signs and symptoms of
Mhm.
overwhelm and burnout and what would land me in the hospital possibly. So I was like, a lot of people had told me I had a very strong voice. So I was like, let me look into voiceover. So I
Mhm.
started being coached in voiceover. That's what actually led me to the journey of that. When I realized that I had to leave social work to save my own mental health,
Yeah.
I was like, well, I have all this equipment for voiceover. Why don't I look into that? So that's actually how I got into that journey. So,
Oh,
and
that's
then of course,
fantastic.
yeah, like I said, the journey of Depression Proof Your Life was, definitely trying to give people tools the same way that I was able to get out of it, help someone else before they actually lose the passion that they actually have for a field
Mhm.
that they're so passionate about. So,
I love that. And that's so commonly like the journey for a lot of women that we have on here as guests that have started their own businesses and frameworks and speaking and things like that is that they have a lot of real world experience in the sense of like what it is that they're trying to help others with. And then they
yes,
see the pattern. And then once they recognize the
exactly.
pattern, Then they began to create things from it that then in turn help others. And it's just, I love it so much. I mean, I just think about for all the hardship that we all go through, how many people we've had on this podcast that turn it into a thriving business that supports them and their family, but then actually helps other people.
Helping other
Such a
people.
cool
Yeah.
thing. I
Yeah.
love that you took the steps, the necessary steps to make this a thing versus just noticing it and moving on. Right.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
No,
remember
thank
asking the
you.
question. I was like, how can I was like, okay, now that I'm on the other side of it, how can I
Mhm.
create something where it can help other people? And it took time
Yeah.
looking deeply within myself and trying to figure out what those steps look like. And
Right.
it's a continuous journey as well. So yeah.
Hmm. No, definitely. And because of it, you've been able to work with everyone from major corporations and brands to veterans organizations and all these spaces. Speaking of pattern recognition, what was a common like burnout pattern that you were seeing either then or now, especially among women, professional women?
Right. I think the number one thing was feeling guilty about resting.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, whether it's taking a vacation or just taking breaks, those many breaks that you need throughout the day, um, believing that they actually have to do it all and
Hmm.
not reaching out for help, not delegating. And then also setting boundaries.
Hmm.
And I think that that comes with the whole, not being able to say no, and prioritizing things. So, yeah, but
Hmm.
with it for myself, but even in talking to whether it's individuals, corporations, students at different universities that I've spoke to,
Hmm.
people don't get burnout because they don't care. They
Right.
actually burn out because they care so deeply and they
Too
end up
much.
forgetting,
Right.
yeah, they end up forgetting to take care of themselves. And that's exactly what happened to me. And that's another running theme that I've seen amongst a lot of, women in leadership as well as, as entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah, I can see that. Guilt's an interesting one because I don't know that I would have like that would have been like the first thing that I would have thought like that's the sign of burnout, but it is that constant guilt if I can't be everyone and everything and everywhere all at once, but I always feel the need to because that is exactly what's going to because you can't. You won't be able to and that's at that point where you're burning out because you can't.
And, it's funny. I used to pride myself on being able to multitask. And
Yeah.
as once I got on the other side of mental health and was building this program, I realized that is something that is, like you said, it's unreasonable, but that used to be
Yeah.
one of the skill sets that you would list, like
Mhm.
I'm able to multitask. Like that is,
Right.
I'm good at what, I'm able to juggle a lot of different things. But um,
Mhm.
as I told someone, I was like, as I got older, I said, I realized that multitasking, I can't do it. I can't take on
No.
too much. But I
Mhm.
think that that's something that's good to be aware of. It's like,
Right.
I can't
Right.
just say no,
Mhm.
you know?
That and I would also emphasize too the rest, this idea of like rest is a revolution, this idea that rest is actually productive. Like I even have to tell my 13-year-old daughter that, sometimes she's like, she had soccer tryouts this week and she was really hard on herself about drilling herself every single day and running and there was one point where I said, what if you just took a rest day? Because you're going to perform better tomorrow if you rest today. And she
Absolutely.
was like, I never thought about that. You just always think about improving and getting better and getting stronger and getting faster. And it's like, you don't understand that rest is actually a part of getting stronger,
Yes, it
giving
really
your body
is.
a
It
chance
really
to heal so
is.
that you can go further the next day. So, yeah, rest is another really important one. Let's talk a little bit about your depression proof method. Could you walk us through a little bit of like what that means, what it looks like in practice for someone who is maybe spinning on the hamster wheel of life like many of us are right now?
So I really love this question. As I told you before we came on, I really love
Hmm.
the questions, but this is one of my favorite, I think, because when people hear depression proof your life, I think sometimes people automatically think I'll never experience depression
Mm,
again. And that's not what it means. It means being intentional about building habits, being aware and building resilience, to actually strengthen those things. And some of the things that we were just listing, a lot of times people experience those things, whether they're, have a lot of tension in their shoulders, having stress headaches, but they chalk it up to, oh, I had a stressful client, I had a difficult phone call, I had a really stressful meeting. But those are all signs and signals that our body is letting us know. Like,
Yeah.
so that awareness, that is what it's all about. So
Mhm.
imagine you're running late, right? You're running late for a meeting, and you're going from meeting to meeting, day by day by day, just going from one thing to the next, one thing to the next. Your phone hasn't stopped ringing. People haven't stopped knocking on your door. You're exhausted when you get home, don't have time for your family. Again, instead of
Mhm.
resting, you're running around trying to make up for different things that you weren't able to do. So you have that. That's where that hamster wheel, right?
Mhm.
That everyone is actually experiencing.
Yeah.
But the thing is to take time throughout your day. When you hang up that phone, just take
Mhm.
a deep breath and just literally take a minute and pause.
Yeah.
And that's however you can find it in your day to
Mhm.
pause, take a minute before you rush to the next thing. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you've actually handled whatever that stressful thing was that you had to deal with on the phone. But before you go to that next meeting, holding that and carrying it with you, by the yeah,
Yes.
that is what burnout can begin to look like. But like you said,
Mhm.
it creeps up on you. It's very
Yeah.
subtle, but
Mhm.
that's why we have to be very intentional every single
Mhm.
day
Yeah.
and consistent,
Mhm.
because every day we have some type of stress that can throw us off.
Yeah.
But we have to actually be aware of those different things. Like,
Mhm.
ask yourself, like, hold on, what exactly is happening? What just happened? What's draining me? Why do I
Yeah.
feel this way? Um,
Mhm.
and sometimes even, what do I need to do right now to kind of calm my nerves a little bit before I go
Mhm.
into this next thing?
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about, that awareness is so key because I think for me, burnout is numbness. Like it's
Yes.
me living from my neck up and not my neck down. Like I don't notice. And it's funny because I thank God for my girlfriends. We'll be like having a conversation and my friend Lucretia, if you're listening, I love you, Lou. She'll be like, Amy, drop your
Right.
shoulders. Cause they'll be
Yes.
up by my ears and she can just tell that I'm tense, but because I'm looking at them and not seeing myself, I don't even notice, and then when you do come home and you kind of just crash or you feel the aches and the pains in your body, you think, well, what did I do? How did I move today? Sometimes it's not at all how you moved physically. It was like that
Yes. You're
emotional work that you're
carrying everything.
feeling.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that there's a lot to be said about that and just recognizing that burnout might not even feel like anything. It could be numbness. And that's literally you, just like you said. I love that analogy of like going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. It's like this building, right? Of all this tension and all this stress that you literally carry from one thing to the next. But that simple moment of pause and breathe and get your nervous system back in check, how huge is that? That's
It's
definitely going to help
powerful.
you cope and be less likely to fall into a sense of despair, right? Because you feel like you have a sense of control over your body because it is really like your nervous system informing your brain. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you're not listening to us down here.
Hey, we're
Hello.
gonna let you know. We're trying to let you know. Yeah.
And
You
that's
know, and
it's true. Yeah.
can I just say, I applaud your girlfriend. Like, to have people in your life, that's
Yeah.
twofold. Like, it's really important. It's twofold. It's
Mhm.
not only having someone important in your life that can actually tell you, "Hey,
Yeah.
drop your shoulders. Do you realize you're hunched over?" Or whatever it may
Yep.
be, but you actually accepting it
Mhm.
and not getting upset and
Yeah.
offended by it. It's like, I
Mhm.
appreciate you for noticing
Yes.
that in me, because sometimes
Mhm.
we aren't really aware, like you said, of things that we do
Mhm.
and our physiological state, but other people can notice those things. So that's
Right.
important to have those people in your life. So awesome.
Oh, so much. And I think a lot of women that are listening right now are those A type, like high functioning women who,
Yes.
we know how to put on the show. We know how to wear the masks. We know how to show up looking calm and composed no matter what's going on inside, right? It's like the duck on the water, right? And the feet are paddling really fast
Yes,
underneath.
exactly. Yes.
You
But
definitely
calm up
need
top.
people
Yes.
who can look at you and be like, I see, I know what's going on, and then call you out for it. So, yes, 100% very fortunate to have friends like that. So, yes. All right. Let's talk a little bit about your experience too. Like you are an Army veteran, and you have navigated systems and challenges that many of our members maybe haven't experienced. Although we do have a few veterans within the community. How has this
Absolutely.
shaped your approach to resilience and mental health advocacy? Because I think that is definitely an area where there's a lot of love, support, and attention needed there. Obviously.
Yeah. I don't think I appreciated it, of course, at the time. I think over the years, I've can honestly say that I appreciate what I learned. But I believe that the military taught me, of course, discipline and
Mm-hmm.
also perseverance. But recovery taught me vulnerability. And the reason I think that that's so important is because both all of those go well with resilience. They help build resilience. Because I feel like vulnerability is about being honest and open
Mm-hmm.
with ourselves. We have to be aware of that vulnerability. So yeah, I would say that collectively,
Mm-hmm.
that's what the mental health. And when I say recovery, I'm talking about the recovery from alcoholism as well as the mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
and having that discipline and the perseverance to keep moving forward, but at the same time being honest with myself when I
Yeah.
can't go on. It's like, you know what, I need to
Mm-hmm.
take a break. I need this moment to myself, or whatever it is, what steps I need to take. So
Mm-hmm. That's phenomenal. Love it. All right. So many of our members struggle with asking for support. We do have a framework within the community, our Ask, Give, Grow philosophy, which is really about helping women learn to ask for what they need, no guilt, no shame, to give without judgment. But asking for help and receiving help is a very hard thing. So for me, it's like a muscle you have to learn how to build.
yes,
Um,
I like that.
to kind of get used to, because a lot of times too, you'll even just finish a meeting with a woman and you've maybe shared a lot, talked about a lot, griped about a lot, and then you look at her and you say, how can I help you? And then she'll be like deer in headlights, or she'll maybe get a little teary because one, she's not used to somebody asking her what she needs and how they can have help. And then also we just don't even know, like a
Don't even
million
know.
things to ask for your help on, but like what feels right, what isn't right, what's fair to ask, what's not fair to ask. And so you really have to just learn. And then there's also this underlying belief that, if we're asking for help, we're weak, or that we should be able to handle this alone. How do you address that mindset?
Yeah, I can relate to all of what you said, and I really love the deer in the headlights type of thing, because like you said, a lot of times
Mm,
people's like, wow, like I don't even know how to
yeah.
answer that because I'm not used to someone.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I used to think that strength meant handling it all on my own, and being able
Hmm.
to multitask, and even in asking for help, I had to learn that there was strength in that. So I learned that the real strength is actually knowing when to reach out, understanding
Mm,
that I can't handle it all on my own.
yes.
And I said the word earlier, even just delegating. But I go back to awareness. Awareness is the the, the foundation of the
Hmm.
framework of depression proof your life. If you're not aware of these things,
Yeah.
building your awareness, getting to know
Hmm.
self, really
Hmm.
understanding what makes you, because everyone is different.
Yeah.
It may be that your shoulders are tense. It may be that you have stress headaches, your hands are
Hmm.
sweaty, you're grinding your teeth, all of those different things.
Yeah.
All and I know one day I had just a few weeks ago, I had a retreat with a group, and the lady said that she realizes that she grips her hands so tight that
Yes.
that was the first time that I'd ever heard that. But that is self
Hmm.
awareness, just realizing like I, I need
Yeah.
to take a minute. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
I believe that being aware is like the first step.
It's a
Being
foundation.
aware and
Yeah.
then knowing exactly what's the next step that I need to do, and
Mm,
always making sure that you're taking a pause between,
mhm.
and not rushing. I think so many times we rush through so many different things just in life. Just go, 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 go,
Yeah.
go, 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 go. And sometimes
Mhm.
just pausing
Yeah.
and doing nothing is good. As you said, rest is, not
It
just physical
is
rest, but just, taking a
mental.
moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
just a mental break. Yeah.
I think we've forgotten how to be bored. I have this conversation also with my kids. We
I
were on
love that.
earlier. They're 9 and 13, and I tell them bored is a privilege. Bored is such a privilege that you need to, and our brains need that time and space, and then we need to figure out how to fill it constructively versus, kind of just mindlessly. And I think the other thing you said that I wanted to kind of reinforce, it's so true. How many of you that are listening right now, what are you holding tight? What are you clenching? For me, it's like my upper body is usually my legs, my lower body, my glutes, my jaw. Like there's always
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But like you
Hmm.
said, it's such an easy, simple practice. The next time you're sitting in a tense meeting or on a phone call or just driving in the car, think about like, what am I holding on to? What is so tight right now? And just kind of letting that go is a big step. And then I think in the asking for help and then also receiving it, it's just practice. And the other thing I try to encourage our women to do is to remember that people really want to help.
They
We
do.
like
Yeah.
it makes us feel good. And as long as you're not taking advantage of everyone, which none of you listening are going to do that, you'll be so surprised by how many people are just thrilled that you ask for their help and support, right? Because they get to show up, they get to be the hero. And who doesn't want to do that sometimes, you know? And then I
You
also
know.
think, go ahead.
Hmm. No, no, no. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Outsider perspective as well, something that you said sparked a memory of something that happened this week. My daughter called me, had a massive migraine. I was at work. She started throwing up. I was really worried she might have had a concussion from soccer. And I was like, I think I need to go home. My community manager was working from home that day. And I felt terrible because I was like, I called her. I was like, I need you to come in. I have to go home now. And she's like 24 years old. She's like, doesn't have kids. And she's like, why do you need to go? Like, she didn't ask me this, but her first thought was like, why do you even have to go in? My mom, I could be at home or at school, wherever, throwing up, and she wouldn't come rushing to my side. But she's like, she told me, she's like, I'm telling you this as a compliment. She's like, but that's just the kind of mom you are. That's the kind of person that you are. You will drop everything and go to your kids. Because I was telling her that I was making plans for tonight. And I'm like, I feel guilty for going out tonight. And she's like, you have been there for your kids all week long with doctor's appointments and her getting sick and all of this. You do so much for them. You can have one night. So it's, again, this is where the outside perspective, having people, when you, like you said earlier, allow yourself to be vulnerable, they can be that mirror for you and be like, yo, listen, why are you, like, the guilt, you said it, the guilt, like, why are you feeling guilty, Amy? You've shown up for your kids all week. Yes, you
Right.
can
You
take one
deserve
night this
this.
week.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What were you going to
You,
say?
you know, this subject, as you were talking, just made me think about a conversation I had with someone in my family.
Mm-hmm.
They were always that person that you go to. If
Yeah.
they were good listeners. Well, I say were. I mean, they still are.
Yeah.
But one day he came to me and said, it's a lot to hear. To constantly hear and to constantly try to be there. And I felt so bad. And I said, you know what? I appreciate you for pointing this out. I said, but you handle it so well. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize that it was too heavy for you or that it was too much for you just over time.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is so true that a lot of times people do want and need that help. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
even if they're not, if they're they afraid or don't know how to ask. But yeah,
Yep.
that was so. And this was just a couple of years ago. It was just
Yeah.
so
Eye-opening.
eye-opening for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, wow, he's handled this stuff like for years, and it's like
Mm-hmm. Yep.
this is too much. Like
Yep.
I can't.
That's
Like,
the duck, right? Those feet are
yes,
going.
and I remember telling, and I remember as you were saying it, that's why it popped in my head. I was like, I
Aw.
remember literally having that conversation with him and
Yeah.
saying, "But you've always had." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I've always handled
Mm.
it, but it's not. It wasn't the best." And
Good for
I'm
him
telling
for
you now,
speaking up about
yeah,
it.
I'm telling you now, like it's too much. I can't handle it.
That's the
Because
boundary.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely,
the
and I
boundary.
appreciated it. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's so
definitely,
good. And that's also another reason to always check on your strong friends, right? And your strong family. You know,
absolutely,
they
yeah,
got that good old exterior, but there's, we've all got something going on that we could use a little help or support in, or some better boundaries
absolutely.
we could create, right? All right. As I was kind of looking through like your work and some of your voiceover talent, there's just so much empathy and authenticity in all the projects that you do. So, do you think that there's a connection between how you show up? This is just kind of more fun, technical for those of our audiophiles who actually do talent like casting and things for vocal. Um, so the difference between, do you think there's a difference in the connection of how we show up vocally or energetically and our mental wellness? And then how do you protect your own energy while doing a lot of them? Well, actually, let's answer that first question first, because the second question is a very big question too. So do you think there's a connection between how we show up vocally or energetically and our mental wellness? And then we'll get to the other half.
Oh, absolutely, it is. It absolutely is. Again, I told you already, but this is another one of my favorite questions. It
Mhm.
absolutely is. And it's because, people hear, the voice and they hear the finished product, not realizing, the emotion that really goes behind it. Just a little short story. I was in a study group a couple of weeks ago, and this creative director, she is amazing. Like, she knows how to pull things out of you.
Mm.
And again, it's all about being authentic to the copy. You're reading words that aren't yours, but
Mhm.
they need to sound like they're coming from you. That you
Yes.
understand what's being. So she asked, what, how, who are you talking to? Who, asked all these questions. I was in tears, and like, matter of fact, I remember looking at her and I said, "I can't look at you." She said, "I need you to look at me. I need you to look at, this is how you're going to get what they need for,
Yeah.
for this particular piece." And I was in tears before the end
Mm.
of it, but it was like, wow. But again, what we were able to create in doing that. So yeah,
Mhm.
that just speaks to, actually having to give of yourself emotionally. But
Yeah.
again, it happened to someone else in the group
Mhm.
later on. And she, again, had to take that moment. She said, when she was finished, I need to go off camera, and just to take that moment. And sometimes
Yeah.
that is what we have to do. And I know for
Mhm.
myself, I love being able to go outside, watch my
Mhm.
hummingbirds, garden,
Yes.
doing different things like that, just to kind of
Mhm.
reset myself
Yep.
sometimes. And I remember
Mhm.
talking to her early on in my career. I told her if I had not been through all the things mentally that I had been through,
Yeah.
voiceover would have been very difficult for me
Mhm.
because you're in a booth by yourself. You're not
Yeah.
getting a lot of feedback on how well you're doing, and then on top of that, you're doing 50, 25, 50, 75 auditions a day.
Yeah.
You might not hear anything back for quite some
Mhm.
time, and sometimes you may get shortlisted, which means they're interested, but they're
Right.
kind of narrowing down, and you
Mhm.
still might not be chosen. That can play with your mental. So
Oh, sure.
yes, yeah, so yeah, definitely they definitely go hand in hand.
That's
So
so
what was the
cool.
second part of the question?
Oh, real quick, I was gonna say it just takes me back. I used to do a lot of voiceover casting and coaching and
Oh,
directing when I was a creative director, and it's such a great art form. I love it so much. There's just so much behind like the intonation of the voice and the emphasis you create on things. Like you just wouldn't think that there's a million ways something can be said, but there are absolutely a million
yes,
ways something can be
yeah.
said, and it's truly an art form. So I love that you're. It's yeah. It's one of those things like we need those good voices, especially when you're like, and I love what you said too about like it needs to sound like they're your words. If that's not on your profile, you need to add that to your profile. I will make your words sound like my words because that's how much I believe them. I love that so much. I was a CD creative director. I'd be like, done, hire this lady outside of your voice
Oh,
being
okay.
amazing.
Thank
But
you. I'll definitely make a note of that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
and then this one here is a big question of like, how do you protect your own energy while doing such emotionally demanding work? I mean, especially again, like I would imagine even for this in social work, like there you hear and see a lot. How do you protect your own sense of peace and energy when you're having to show up for people who are just going through so much?
Yeah. You know, as a social worker, I didn't. I mean, that's
Mm,
just to be honest, I did not. I
yeah.
did not protect. I did it by drinking every night.
Mm,
And it took over time, but I realized over time I wasn't just drinking on the weekends. I wasn't just
hmm.
drinking, like on Wednesday, that halfway mark to the. It was
Right.
it got to be a point of every single day. And like I said earlier, I did not have a life outside of social work. I
Yeah.
wasn't going. I wasn't doing things. Of course, I spent time with my family, but again, it was like,
Sure.
all right, I got to get back. I was trying to play catch up with notes, so I
Hmm.
poured. I was holding everything that I saw, everything that I heard.
No.
I was just holding it, and I was
Hmm.
using alcohol. Of
Yep.
course, with the mental health was not helping.
Yeah.
But now, like I said, I really appreciate being able to, if I can't connect with a copy, for example,
Hmm.
instead of just trying to beat it up, because people can hear that. People can
Mm,
hear, even when I'm in a speaking engagement, if I'm like really really rushed and I feel like people can hear that. People
yes.
can hear. So it's really important. I remember when I first got into voiceover, this guy asked me, he said, "Do you meditate?" I said, "Sure." He was like,
Mm.
He said, I don't think you do. He said, because he said, you're just all over the place. He was like, you're all over. He was like,
He's like, calm
I was
down.
like, right. And I'm like, this is just my energy. He was like, do you
Right?
drink coffee? He said, no, don't. And I was like, I don't drink coffee. He was like, okay, if you do, it's good. Like he was, and I was like, and I just did not understand. But
Mm,
of course, over time of being in voiceover, I realized, yeah, you really have to center yourself. Like, for example, if someone is really anxious because they haven't booked anything for a while,
yeah.
and they're like, okay, I got to get this. That anxiety of oh, I got to get
Comes
this. I got to.
through.
It comes through, and and
Mm,
even if you don't hear it, because like you were saying, the way we think we sound is not always the way we actually sound. But
yeah.
other people can actually tell us, or different things that we may be doing. It's the same way in voiceover.
Mm,
And that's why I appreciate some. There are times that I cannot connect with the copy. It's like I know how it's. I know what the script is saying. I know the meaning, but the words aren't coming out the way that with the intensity on
mm,
certain words the way I need it
yeah.
to. I'll go outside, watch
Hmm.
my hummingbirds
Yep.
that just bring me joy.
Hmm.
Gardening, just something. And while I'm
Yeah.
out there, I'm not necessarily thinking about. Oh, okay, I got to figure out how. It's not even on my mind anymore.
Hmm.
But what I have found is however long I stay out there, whenever I come back in, bam, it's like
Yep.
that.
There it
And
is.
it's because sometimes that is why it's so important just to be able to step away. And and
Yes.
and I realize when I talk to different organizations, that's why talking about burnout is extremely important to me because
Hmm.
just I like talking to the organization as a whole, but of course when I have smaller groups
Hmm.
where I have supervisors, only I can have conversations and real conversations with letting them know how important it is to make sure
Hmm.
that you give your staff that time, that break, even if it's 5 minutes. If
Hmm.
they say that they are feeling overwhelmed, give them that time, or maybe you step in for
Yeah.
your staff, whatever it is that you need. If they're telling you that they need something,
Hmm.
try to be there for them. So yeah, I appreciate being able to just step away, coming
Hmm.
back like and just refreshed and
Yeah.
being able to do whatever I need to do. And I think
Hmm.
when people can do that in organizations for
Yes.
themselves, that's why it's
Hmm.
so important. And when I talk to these organizations, when I talk to students, it's important for us to do what we can do for ourselves,
Hmm.
but also setting boundaries and letting upper management know
Yep.
and leadership know these are the steps that you need to take as well. Because one question I
Hmm.
always ask people, especially when I have leadership in the room, how comfortable are you having a conversation if your staff was to come to you about something heavy or about something that
Hmm.
emotional, just whatever it may be? And a lot of them like I wouldn't really know how to handle that.
Yeah.
And although I appreciate especially in the helping field, I want to make that point, especially in
Hmm.
fields where people are actually carrying things heavy for their clients. And a lot of times I hear them say, no, I wouldn't really feel comfortable. I wouldn't really know what to say. It's
Right.
like, that's something to work on because
Hmm.
that's something that they need. And if you're not the person, you need to be
Right.
able to say, I need you. You can go talk to Amy. I'll send
Hmm.
call Amy or send her an email, let her know that she's gonna, that you're gonna go talk to her or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff in there. And one of the things I was thinking of as you were talking about auditioning, it kind of even relates to job interviewing.
Oh
So
yes. Yeah.
I think a lot of folks who are listening right now are kind of in that in between of, job searching and whether they're not working and looking or working while looking. Um, that stress, that tension, it does really come through, and it does change the tone and the shape of the interview. And I think people can and will account for nerves, but at the same time, it's still like first impressions are first impressions. And I love how you keep referring to your hummingbirds. Like my family, my great grandmother loved hummingbirds. I have like a hummingbird tattoo on my arm. My mom, my sister have the same one.
Yes.
So I love my hummingbirds. I love birds in general. And it sounds wild, but I did hear a while back about, oh, actually, no, it was a therapist who told me that this bird song actually does reset your nervous system. So even if you can't step outside, just pulling up like some bird sound and like sitting in a quiet room for a minute, what it does is like from an evolutionary standpoint, we would never hear bird song if there were threats nearby. So when you hear bird song, your body knows instinctually that you are safe. If there are no birds, it's too
Oh,
quiet.
that is so good. That is so
But
true.
if you hear the song, you're like, okay, your nervous system knows you're not in danger. And so that can really help
If
with
they're
that fight or
calm,
flight.
right? If they're calm, you can be calm, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yep, yep.
I
So
love
I've
that.
I've
Thank
learned
you
that
for
that's
sharing that.
been right. Isn't that cool? And I mean, between that and bird watching, I think like it's just people like will tease you about it, like, oh, bird nerd. But I'm like, from an evolutionary standpoint, there's a reason why we are drawn to these things and why people do it and they find it so soothing.
Look, I told my family I'm literally turning into a bird lady because I
Yeah.
have about four hummingbird feeders, but
Hmm.
I also have, just regular bird feeders in my
Yeah.
yard, hanging from the
Hmm.
trees,
Yep.
hanging from a stream of lights. Like, but they
Yep.
are. There's just such a joy to watch. Just so peaceful.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, you know, to the auditions and job interviewing,
Hmm.
self talk, positive self talk is extremely important.
Hmm.
In my mental health journey, I realized just how powerful the mind is. Your mind can believe whatever you tell
Yep.
it,
Hmm.
whether it's something positive or whether it's something negative. It's going to be
Hmm.
true. That
Yep.
your whatever it is.
Yeah.
And what I had to tell myself is, and I'm a believer, so I believe that what's for me is for me. Like,
Yes.
if something is for me, I don't care how many other people audition for it. I don't care what mistake I may think that I have made,
Right.
or like you said, even for an interview. If you
Hmm.
and I don't know about you, but I can remember some of the times that I actually auditioned. I was like, I don't think I got it. How do you think
Yeah.
you did? I don't think I got it. I made a mistake. I tripped up. I spilled water. Whatever it is, and
Hmm.
they were like, I got the job. I didn't think
Right.
so if it's for you, it's for
Hmm.
you. And I
Yep.
think that that's something that we should, try to tell ourselves,
Yeah.
so that we don't beat ourselves up and blame ourselves, because we
Hmm.
can't force it, right? We can't
Right.
force it because we don't know what people want. And sometimes, as
Yeah.
a believer for myself, sometimes you may not get the job because it's something that God is trying to protect you from.
Right. Hmm.
That
Yep.
you don't need to be in that space, even no matter
Hmm.
how bad you want it. So yeah,
Sure.
just wanted to share that. Yeah.
I love it. No, I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. It also reminds me of the line, whether you think you can or can't, you're right.
Yes. Yeah. That
You
never
know?
made sense to me, but of course over time it makes a
Hmm.
lot of sense, and it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. We do a good job of getting in our own ways. That's for sure.
Absolutely. We do.
All right. So we've talked quite a bit about burnout, but we're going to keep touching on it because it's a big, big topic and is probably going to continue to be for some time. But it definitely creeps up on us slowly. I mentioned earlier, for me, it's kind of almost like numbness, which can definitely make it sneaky. What are some of the early warning signs that you've learned to recognize both in yourself and the people that you work with when it comes to burnout?
Yeah, well, it's funny that, of course, I know you said it earlier, but that was one of the things that I actually
Mhm.
noticed within myself is emotional numbness, especially around right before, in 2021, before I actually left social work. That's where I was. It was just, I was going through the motions.
Mhm.
It was, and I have been that way for quite some time. And because I know the signs and symptoms, not only because of my own self, but just because of my degree, I'm very
Mhm.
aware of all the different, uh, all the things that you can do to, self care. I was not doing any of those things, and of
Yeah.
course, irritability. I think that
Mhm.
that's another big one that sometimes people dismiss. Um,
Mm.
I know for myself, anytime I have a conversation with someone, I'm dealing with someone that I have dealt with in the past, and
Mhm.
they're very short. I'm
Yep.
very like, are you okay? You
Right.
just don't sound like yourself.
Mm.
I'm just
Love it.
checking in.
Mhm.
And sometimes it goes over well, and sometimes it doesn't. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think a lot of times when we are trying to reach out to someone to help them, if we get our head bit off, like, leave me alone, there's nothing wrong with
Right.
me. It's like, I won't bother you then.
Answer.
It's
There's
like,
your answer.
right, and sometimes, yeah, that is just the answer, and but a
Mhm.
lot of times we get offended ourselves, and it's like, well, I just want to help you then. It's like, but that's
Mhm.
that's you can tell that's
That
not them.
is. You touched the
Yeah,
nerve. Well,
yeah.
another one I think I would throw out there is resentment
Oh,
as a sign of burnout. Because I've worked with so many folks that I think are so fantastic and talented and capable and competent, and they just become so bitter and resentful. And it's not because they're bad people, it's just because they know and feel the weight of all the work they're doing. And they just can't believe that anybody else can do it. And then they're holding on to perfectionism. And then it just makes them increasingly disappointed and ultimately resentful. So I would throw resentment in there for sure.
No, I love that one. And again, the list could go on and on.
Oh, yeah.
But when you said resentment, I kind of smiled because it made me think when I was going to school for to get my degree in my master's degree.
Mm-hmm.
I failed my research class, and of course, in master's program, you cannot fail anything, right? You can't make anything below a C, and I failed my class, and it was very hard. That was a very hard pill to swallow because, of course, the vision that I had for myself, right, and for the way that everything was going to work out, and of course, I was on Facebook at the time, and I was seeing people post their graduation, people that I had gone to school with, people that I was in internships with, and they actually got the job at the internship that it's like I started I had to get off of social media because I started like really like that was supposed to be me. Like, no, that wasn't supposed to be you. Like that resentment, I could tell it started setting in, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm hating on these people that are where I want to be, but they didn't do anything wrong, So I had to really check myself, and I actually had to get off social media for a while because if I didn't, it would have just festered and festered. Yeah. And I was like, matter of fact, that was the first time I actually did like a 5K or 8K. I started doing things like, it was like, I have to get out. Like, I cannot sit behind this computer. Like, what are you doing? Oh, you got the job. I was like, I can't do that. That cannot be me. So, yeah.
Right. Well, good for you for turning that around and for recognizing. I mean, sometimes it is like, they say also another good line is that comparison is the thief of joy. And I find when I start to compare myself to other people, it's not that I'm jealous. It's I have an unmet need, or there's something there that I want that I'm not acknowledging that I want and need. And so for me, it's not really about jealousy or envy. It's like there's something I am lacking that I haven't taken the steps to become aware of and do something about it. And there's just no sense in comparing yourself to others because their journey is completely different than yours. You have no clue what they've gone through to get where they got to. It might look easy, but that doesn't mean it was easy.
It doesn't mean it was. Yeah, that's true.
100%. All right. So for women who are just starting to recognize that they might be headed towards burnout, what is one thing that they should do first?
I guess I would say be aware of what it is. It's almost like what you were just saying. What have you done? Are you actually comparing yourself? What is it? Is it? Are there lessons that you have ignored in the past that you need to actually get over those little humps in order to achieve whatever goal it is? Are you in a situation where you could possibly stay in the field that you're in, but just go in another area? I told someone that's what I love about having a degree in social work. It's so vast. You can work with any number of people, any number of agencies. Talk to someone, whether it's someone professionally or a close friend, family member, something like that. And then, of course, just figure out if there's what you can actually do about it, because early stages of burnout, people can take the steps to fix that burnout. And I don't want to fix the burnout isn't even the proper thing to say, but it can actually be prevented. But so if it's early on in the stage, talk to someone. If it's someone that is you're actually working for yourself, take the time off that you need. Hire other people to delegate some work, because sometimes you may just be taking on too much. And take a look at the goals that you have written down, because sometimes you may need to readjust them. Not necessarily saying that they can't be met, but maybe change the timeline that you're actually, because sometimes we can put so much pressure on ourselves, and because we're not finished by this particular date, and it's like,
Yeah. Then we just give up.
It's
We're like, I didn't meet the
it's your
deadline, so
journey.
it's never going to
Right.
happen.
It's right. It's
But
your
no,
journey. So
you got
you
all
can
this
take the
way.
time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you can take the time that you actually need. So yeah, sometimes it's just simply taking pressure off of ourselves. So it's
Mm,
so many different things. But yeah, those are a couple of things that I would actually say that
mhm.
someone can do if they feel like they're, that burnout is on the horizon,
Yeah. Well, and to me, I just think I realized I had this little bit of an epiphany while you were speaking too. It's like burnout. The call is coming from inside the house. We always think it's
Oh,
all the
that's so
external factors,
good.
right?
Oh,
We
that's
always
so good. I
think
love it.
it's everything else in the world that's burning us out, but
Yes. Hmm.
we have to look inward and say, why am I not saying no more? What is it? Like, is it my people pleasing tendencies? Is it like my childhood hardwiring? Like, there's something deeper going on. And if you don't get to the source of that, nothing on the surface is going to change. And your body is the one responding and reacting. And you think it's all just because of the external factors, but it is literally coming from inside the house.
I love that. That is so good. I remember, I don't know, maybe the first year or two in voiceover, I was
Mhm.
constantly like going into to this workshop and this workshop and that workshop, just collecting information.
Yeah.
But then I was looking at all these people that and that's how I said I was trying to attain a particular, any accolades. But it's like, what are these people that are constantly and consistently booking?
Yeah.
You hear them everywhere.
Hmm.
They're always booking. What are they doing? So I talked to some of these people, reached out, like, how are you able to do this consistently across multiple genres? And what I realized is consistency.
Mm.
Consistency played a huge role in the person that they were working with or
Yes.
their technique, not trying to change it. And what I realized, all these workshops that I was signing up for, I was getting all this information from different people, but I wasn't necessarily using the information that I was
Yes.
getting that I actually had right in front of
Hmm.
me. So once I actually kind of collected all this, figured out what was working and what wasn't working, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
then that consistency started, happening for
Pay
me. And it's the
off.
same way it is in your business, in your work,
Hmm.
you know, kind of dial in. But I love that the
Yeah.
call is coming from in the house. Yeah, it's all up here, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. I love that. And yeah, you're right. Consistency is so key through all of it. Showing up is such a big part of it. And like you said, taking what you've learned and figuring out how to apply it. And it's not like a whole overhaul. It's like, what is one small thing? What's one little thing I can change? Like, even if today from this whole conversation, the thing is you just remembering to check in somatically once a day, twice a day, to just be like, what am I holding tight? Like, that's such a good start. And that's sometimes all you need to get rolling because then it's going to build. All right, looking at the year ahead, what do you want women, professional women specifically, to know about protecting their mental health while still showing up powerfully in their work?
I would have to say, don't wait until
Mm,
you know it's all this buildup is happening. Pay attention to those little things. Don't just chalk them up to, I had a stressful client, because yes, that it's not taken away. Yes, you had a stressful client, you were audited, that's stressful no matter
mhm,
what it is. But pay attention to those things and do
mm.
something about them. Deal with them and when I say deal with them, not necessarily because it's going to take a while to deal with that audit, right?
Yeah.
But deal with how you're handling the stress of it all.
Hmm.
Deal with how
Yes.
you're responding to it
Hmm.
throughout. And that's why consistency and intention, you have to be intentional every single
Love it.
day about
Hmm.
your thoughts, about your movements, all of
Hmm.
that. So building resistance throughout the same, it's the same way someone built you built your career. The same way you
Hmm.
built your career, you had goals, you had timelines, you know, it was broken down, and it was
Yeah.
steps that you had to take. They were very intentional, and
Hmm.
you were very consistent in doing so. It's the same way that you have to do when it comes to your mental health, mental wellness, and mental resilience over time. But it's
Yes.
intentional with those. So yeah.
Hmm. I love that. The intentionality. Like, I think that's such a good sign of like strong mental health and self-awareness is that intentionality because you are moving from reacting to responding, right? Like I don't react to that email from the client. I will carefully, intentionally take time, step away, go outside, listen to the birds, right? Come back in and maybe process with a friend, maybe talk to a coworker about it. And then when I'm in a good headspace within 24 hours, then I'll respond. You know what I mean? That's different than reacting. Not to say that we can't or shouldn't react, but like
Yeah.
as the
And
response should be reaction.
absolutely. And that's the thing, telling again, having that space and that time just to pause and like, you know what?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to respond right now because a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
that's what we do. Even for example, in auditioning, it's like, oh, I got this audition. I got to ask. Like,
Yep.
oh, we can take a minute. Take a
Mm-hmm.
minute to read the script. Make sure that you understand exactly what it's saying, because
Mm-hmm.
the more that you understand the intention behind the words, you'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to deliver that intention authentically. It's the same
Yes.
way it is showing up for yourself in your business and in your work. And again, of course, we're talking to business women, people in leadership, but this is even in your everyday life.
Yes.
If you feel like you're kind of snapping at the kids, snapping at the spouse, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? I just need a reset.
Yep.
And communicate with
Mm-hmm.
people, in your life to let them know, you know what? I had a rough day today.
Yep.
I think all of those different things, because that's all a part of setting boundaries as well, you know?
Mm-hmm. Love it. This has been such a good conversation. I'm not surprised, Mary. I'm so glad that we've had this. I
Thank
think
you.
it's
Thank you.
just
Yeah.
such
Love
a
it.
deeper dive on understanding the ways in which burnout can show up and how simple it can be through just simple awareness as a beginning point to start to build and grow from that. But even talking about, burnout showing up as guilt or resentment, like I don't think these are words that we've used in all the burnout conversations we've had over the last, I don't know, 6 years on the podcast. So that's fantastic. All right. Well, I'm going to move into our power round questions as we wrap things up. So these are kind of fun rapid fire questions. All right. So for the power round, wanted to get your thoughts on a couple of quick rapid fire questions. This one, we've mentioned gardening and watching the birds. So I'm going to push you to give us maybe one more. What's your go-to grounding technique when stress hits?
Um, I would say like just movement. Like usually I'll just dance around
Yeah,
and be silly. Like,
that's
yeah.
great.
And I think it's because uh, a conversation that we were having before we came on, just not taking myself
Hmm.
so serious. It's like, you know what? It's not that important. It's, just kind of
Right.
shake it off type of thing. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. In the last year, I've had a lot of life changes and I've learned and have learned to embrace so much more about somatic work. And you just getting up and moving like that, we don't realize how much emotion we hold in our bodies throughout the day. And I think when we are kind of always rigid, always sitting, always like standing kind of in a certain way and having to be professional, which I get, like
Yes.
it's hard because our body is like
Yes.
inside. We're still kind of, again, call coming from inside the house. It's screaming. So I think getting up and getting your boogie on, that's a great tip. I love it. Or just taking a walk, going for a run. What is one boundary that you've had to set more than once because it keeps trying to slip away?
uh, the example that I gave earlier, just trying to feel like I have to do it all.
Yeah.
Um, of course, early in my career, of course, because I have such a heart of giving and serving others, I felt
Hmm.
like if I didn't, help this client in the moment, or I didn't, my coworker needed some help, whatever it is, just saying yes. But I realized that I was pulled in every direction,
Mm.
and overwhelmed myself. But I also saw that in my voiceover career, like I said earlier, probably 2 years into my voiceover career, I realized I was doing a lot. I was just doing everything that was being offered. I was signing up for it, and it was like, this isn't serving me anymore.
Hmm.
I don't know that it ever was. Probably
Yeah.
early on it was, but it's like,
Hmm.
just take the time to slow down and
Hmm.
do nothing. Take in what you actually have in front of you. So
Right.
definitely, that is a boundary that I have to constantly remind myself
Mm.
of and be intentional with. Like making sure,
Mhm.
are you taking on too much? No.
Right,
Okay. Make sure I don't.
right.
I like, for example, I don't. I try to make sure that I don't have too many, like more than 3 things a week to do, because
Mhm.
again, when I have too much to do, I
Yeah,
realize how overwhelmed I can get, very
right.
easily. So
Because life's gonna throw some things in there too, right? There's always something that's gonna go sideways. So if you overbook yourself, then something else comes plowing in out like the ninth inning, not ready for that to appear, you're gonna spiral out for sure. There was something else I was gonna say before that too while you were speaking, but no, I don't remember what it was, so that's okay. Um, oh, I know what it was. It was that whole like always taking on more and more and more, and I think a lot of that has to do with our like a lot of people's core belief that my productivity is my worth. Like my ability to do is what makes me valuable as a human. That was a big lightning strike moment for me where it was like, if I'm not showing up and helping and doing for others, who am I? What am I doing here? And that's something you have to sit with and figure out. That's therapy right there, though. But that's not
Yeah.
for rapid fire. All
No,
right.
it's good though.
What is something that you thought you had to do for your career that you've since realized that you don't?
Something that I thought that I needed in my career. I don't know. I guess I would say that's a good one. Yeah, I guess you know realizing that and this is supposed to be rapid fire, not so rapid, but
A question.
I think it's that it didn't social work was so important. I thought that was going to be the end all be all, right? Like
Mhm.
that was it. And just realizing that one thing, it can be more than one thing. I didn't have to
Yes.
have all of these different experiences.
Mhm.
um, Being in the military,
Yeah.
being a social worker, actually even going through the substance abuse and mental illness,
Mhm.
all of those different things created all of what is here
Yes.
with Depression
Mhm.
Proof Your Life. So just really taking taking on and appreciating everything that happens in life, professionally and personally, because it
Mhm.
all are building blocks.
Yep.
So I guess that's what I would say. Yeah.
I love it. That's great advice. That's so true. All right. I want to know next, how can people find you, learn more about you, listen to the work that you're doing, share the work you're doing, all that good stuff?
Yeah. Thank you. I can be reached at info
Mhm.
depression-prooflife.com, or as well as my website is depressionproofyourlife.com. And I'm also my podcast is actually on Spotify and Apple's podcast. And of course, if someone wanted to reach out to me for a voiceover, I can
Mhm.
be reached at Marian at marianmillsvoice.com. And my website is marianmillsvoice.com. But yeah, it's been
Awesome.
such an honor to be on the show, to talk about mental health and, just to kind of
Yes.
dive in and support women. Really, really
Mhm.
is.
Yeah, and we appreciate you for sharing your story, your vulnerability, your wisdom, all of that's been so hard earned. And I love that you're willing to take that and give it to others. It's such a gift. It's so wonderful. So if you're ready to build your resilience, your energy, learn more about Depression Proof Method, you can definitely check out her website. We'll include all of those things in the show notes that she just shared with us. And remember, Together Digital is here for you as well. You've got your community. You've got over 500 women that are always have your back. We've got our community Slack. We've got our peer groups, which applications are open for until tomorrow. So, members, if you're listening, make sure that you apply for your dedicated peer group, your own personal board of directors that are going to see you through all things digital in life and become your new professional soulmates. That's such a great member benefit and feature. If you're not in a peer group yet, I highly recommend it. We are all about sharing our knowledge, power, and connections. And so, Marian, we are so grateful that you came and did that with us today. Thanks for sharing
Thank
your
you.
power.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Of course. All right, everyone. That's all we've got for now. We will see you again soon. Until then, keep asking, keep giving, and keep growing.
Produced by Heartcast Media.